Who?
And my mom was a singer. She sung overseas and actually was top one on the charts over there. Um, they had some troubles, and dad left, and mom kind of hung around, and grandma was here. So because grandma kept an eye on me a little bit on the loose side, I would say, that just allowed for some trouble to kind of creep in, and so that kind of grew this story. And then at 18, I jumped off and kind of went on my way. And at 19, I joined the Navy. And this is how some of the story begins. The book came along in 2020, roughly. Right after the passing of my father. And so I kind of needed to get some of the pain out. This is where it came from.
Well, thank you. Hey, thank you for sharing that. I mean, beautiful illustrated children. Beautiful book. So kudos to you for see the heart and love and the backstory that you just shared with us. Tells a lot about you. Thank you. So real quick, that helped us to keep the illustrating the first question. Like you talked a little bit about the inspiration, and you started talking about the inspiration for the book and the story. So can you tell us a little bit about like what moment inspired you to write this story? Like what was that day like that goes, I want to go write this. I want to go do this. What inspired you?
It was not just one moment, I would say. It was a bunch of different moments that really came about that helped the story kind of come to life. But really, I was a carefree little girl, and this story is more so about Lily, right? And so I'm gonna keep the focus on Lily. And so, Help Me Tell is a book about a little girl named Lily who's just carefree, living her life, enjoying life. She experiences trauma, and then she all of a sudden cannot speak, and she goes on a journey to figure out how she can speak. And so much of that is what people know. Just the people who go through their life, they don't have the words, they don't know how to talk, and they're not equipped, and neither are parents necessarily equipped with the tools to tell the children how to talk about things. And so this is a conversation as a starter to help children, parents, teachers, counselors really get a tool in their hands just to begin the conversation. That's what Help Me Tell is all about.
No, I appreciate that. And those conversations can be difficult, tying those together. And how was when you talk about the difficulty, how did you balance, like I think any author will tell you, like when you start writing a story, you write pretty much. I put it in my brain. You write like 1,000-page book in your brain, right? In your brain, like I got 1,000 pages I can get out here, but then you start willing it down, or you start getting to the reality of what you want your voice to be. So how difficult was it balancing? Because you wanted this voice for Lily to be very highlighted, without going into other things that you may have wanted to kind of tie in there. So how difficult was it to keep that subject matter really focused on what you wanted to do?
Everything about the voice of Lily is about hope. Even though she experienced trauma, it's not focused only on trauma. It's about finding hope. Hope is the most important thing we can hold on to, because in desperate times, when things are hard, hope is what gets you through the day. It's not the fact that you went through the really bad things, or the many really bad things. It's the hope that you hold on to that gets you through the breath to the next day. And really, really love this.
Man, I appreciate that. I mean, people can discount how powerful a word can be with action, right? And I think hope, man, it's the most powerful thing we can have is hope, faith, and the belief that things will be better and that we can execute that. So I appreciate that. Authorship authorship, you know, we talked about authorship, we talked about it a little bit before we started this segment about who reads your book. You can count numbers, but you can also look at where there, I don't care if you count numbers and you can see where all your books are. There are a ton of people who read your book you'll never know about. They'll never DM you, they'll never reach out to you. There's somebody's gonna pick up it at a random place and read it. You'll never know about these unknowns. And I think those are the powerful. So if you know that's going to happen, and that is happening. So what conversation do you hope people are beginning after reading your book? What is that like moment when you go, man, I know someone read my book today. What conversation I'm hoping, what's the takeaway that I really would love for them to have?
I would say if you pick up Help Me Tell, I want you to think about how you start talking about not staying in pain. This is how I knew the book was going to be impactful, and even if it just touched one person. I took my book to my church, very well-known church. I took it to my church and I wanted them to put it on the bookshelf, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't talk enough about Jesus to put it on the bookshelf, so can't put it on the bookshelf because it's not enough in there about that." I said, "Okay, no worries." But the person told me, "I read your book, and your book caused me to deal with some things I had not ever dealt with. That helped me know this book is a powerful tool that you need to use to begin conversation." So if nothing else, the conversation should be, I need to deal with the stuff that I've kept hidden for so long and I've never touched.
I appreciate that's powerful. You know, we talk about having, you know, action about that being in the church, because that's a place. And we all know, you know, there's nothing need to be statistics. It's just like kids spend majority of their time away from home every day, right? I was just talking to a friend this morning, and someone's like, "Hey man, I got to get these kids off to summer camp." So even in summer, you know, they're spending their time away from the home. You know, what role would you want schools to play in these conversations?
Schools are where kids are spending, let's say, maybe 60% of the time, right? If a child is spending 60% of their time, there should be at least an hour a week at least dedicated to a topic about trauma. At least 1 hour. 1 hour. Why? Because children go home to the same environment that they are not equipped to deal with. And I think also parents need to be educated about the same topic. Parents need to be just as educated as the child is educated about the topic of trauma. And tools need to be given to each of them on how to properly deal with it. So everybody can be equipped and everybody can deal with it better. That's the issue I think we face. And I think it's a bigger problem because I've heard statistics of counselors getting out of counseling because they counsel students and the student will get what's the regress, if you will, in the counseling. And it's because they're going back into the same environment, even though they're being given tools. Well, you can't fix the home environment if the parent doesn't have the right tools.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I know there's a lot of parents that's in the audience right now. There's a lot of parents who will read your book, and a lot of parents who deal with topics of trauma themselves and deal with this topic a lot. And I know I have a 24 and a 29-year-old almost, and they're both girls. And I would just be honest with you, I've dealt with some of these things, and as I look at your book, I wish that I had more tools. You know, I wish I had way more tools when I had a 15-year-old, you know, that experience. I just wish I had more tools. And you know, that's why I asked that question, what role the schools play. And even, you know, I think there's like 5 parts: school, parents, everybody, you know, relatives, everybody plays a part. But it's also back to the person who's facing this, the trauma, have to have an environment of trust.
Yes.
Right? So you not if you hypothetically, because you are speaking to someone today at this very second who's pondering the thoughts of trauma, of replaying something. It could be a child, it could be an adult. But this particular case, what advice would you give a child struggling to speak if they just happened across this on YouTube or TikTok or I don't know that social media. I'm old, so I can only go LinkedIn, Instagram. After TikTok, I don't even know what's out there. And I'm not even. You got me right there. I don't know. But if a kid, someone rolled across literally this version of the conversation, and I asked you a question, what advice would you give a child who's struggling to speak on this topic? And this is the only 5 seconds they had to view about this. What would you say directly to them in the camera?
If this is the only thing you hear, you need to find a trusted adult that you can go and talk to them soon. And that trusted adult, you have to know in your gut is safe. That's all I can say. You know what that trusted adult feels like. You know what safety feels like, especially if you experience trauma. You can tell right away. Trust your gut. Trust your gut.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask you not the opposite of that, but the other part of that the adults need to hear. So if your advice is to go find a trusted adult that's going to listen in a non-judgmental environment, what is the other side of that? What advice would you give the adult who's now received that disclosure of trust?
Listen. It's simple. Listen and believe the child. Don't judge them. Automatically listen to them. Trust what they're saying. And then go and do your investigation afterwards. But listen to them. Don't make them feel like they are should be ashamed or guilty for what they're sharing with you.
No, I appreciate that. I wanted to leave those two kind of reminders at the end of very powerful things that you have said. If you had to tell the world why Help Tell Me is the book they should read, regardless if it's about, because I don't want to focus this on if you have a child or my mom has 8 sisters. So you can only imagine the cousins I have. You can only imagine the extended family and how many people are all around us, right? So, what audience is this appropriate for?
It's appropriate for everyone because everyone experiences trauma at some level. So everyone should use it as a tool. And everyone's trauma is different. It is just a tool to help you begin the conversation. It doesn't go very deep into trauma, but it does talk about hope. Hope is what's important.
Okay. Awesome. No, I appreciate that. I want to do you have any closing comments for Jasmine?
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for sharing your story. I think that really is important. I think that it's powerful, and I know that it's going to touch many lives that get to see this recording. I'm just going to ask you to complete this sentence. To every boy and girl who is learning their voice.
You are loved. You are important. You are going to do amazing things.
Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you, Jasmine, again. That was amazing. And to everybody who's listening to my voice, buy 70,000 copies apiece of this book. But I want to, if we're still recording, I want to really point out something here. Schools are important tools. I've been in education for a while. I would love any school administrator out there who sees this to really give her a call. And or look for her and see how you can get this in the schools. And also I would like to leave you with telling people how to get a hold of you, which is really important. We almost missed that part. How do people get a hold of you?
You can reach me on my website, www.jasminecolerush.com.
And where can we buy this book?
You can also find the link to buy the book on the website as well. It'll point you right to the direct link to purchase as well.
Okay, awesome. Round of applause, guys. Thank you.